Hey guys, how y'all doing? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my July wrap up. So I read 15 books in the month of July and I am so proud of that because in June I only read 4 books, so I definitely made up for that this month. So we have a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right on in. So the first book that I read in the month of July was series Moonlight by Jen Bennett. So this is a YA contemporary following our main character Birdie as she gets a summer job at this hotel, and she's kind of like this mystery nut. She's always looking for a mystery to solve, and at this hotel that she's now working at, a mystery arises with this author who tries to keep his life pretty anonymous, and she meets this boy named Daniel at the hotel who she actually had a run-in with prior to getting this job, and there's just all this stuff going on. That was a really bad synopsis, but I really don't know how to describe this book, but I loved this book and I was really nervous going into it because I love Jen Bennett's other novel, Alex Approximately, but I also read her other book, Starry Eyes, and I didn't love it quite as much, but I don't think that was the book's fault. I think that was my own personal expectations going into the book that kind of ruined it for me, so I do plan on rereading that one soon in hopes to give it a second chance and in hopes to love it a bit more. So I was kind of nervous for this one, thinking like this is like a 50-50 chance of me enjoying it or not, so I'm really happy that I ended up enjoying it. I just completely fell in love with this book and I'm so pleased. So I quickly became invested in our main character Birdie and was also completely in love with her relationship with Daniel. I just loved literally everything about it, but I actually really loved the relationship between Daniel and Birdie and the complexity of it and the complications of it. Their relationship was messy and complicated, and I really enjoyed the portrayal of that and how they initially met with like a kind of one night stand sort of situation, which I don't think is a spoiler. Birdie never thought she would see him again, and then when she sees him and has to work around him, it kind of just makes everything so complicated, and she's trying to work through her feelings about this, and she has a lot of complicated feelings about love and like commitment because of things in her past, and it's just like, I don't know, it's just such a beautifully crafted, complicated, messy relationship, and I really enjoyed that. I did enjoy the mystery, it just wasn't like my prime focus when I was reading the book. I was definitely way more invested in the romance and the characters than I was in the mystery, but I did enjoy the mystery as well and kind of how it unraveled and what happened. I wasn't really expecting until like right before it happened, so I really enjoyed that as well. I do like mystery elements in books, and I am trying to get a little bit more into actual mystery genres. I actually really enjoyed this one, and it's definitely my second favorite Jen Bennett book, and I am, like I said, hoping to revisit Starry Eyes in hopes that I love it more than the first time, but I really enjoyed this book and I highly recommend it. So the next book I definitely don't want to talk about for too long because I've read it a million times, I've talked about it on my channel a million times, and that is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. So the main reason why I was rereading this was I wanted to do a reading vlog about the Simon-verse. So I was going to reread this and a couple of the other books in the Simon-verse, and I was going to do an entire vlog for it, but I went onto my computer where all my video files are. I was trying to save a video on my computer, I think it was my Cat NaNoWriMo vlog, and it wouldn't save. It was like, oh, you don't have enough space on your computer. And so I was trying to find things to delete, and I saw that I had all my Reading Rush because I did daily vlogs, so I saw all my Reading Rush vlogs, and I was like, oh, I don't need this footage from 7 days anymore, so I went to go delete the Reading Rush folder. So in my computer, in my like video folder, I have multiple different folders. So I have a whole folder for reading vlogs specifically, and then within that folder I have specific folders for each reading vlog that I'm doing. So I had a Reading Rush folder and I also had a Simon-verse folder. I specifically clicked on the Reading Rush folder because I wanted to delete that one, and I clicked delete and it said too much footage, can't put into a recycling bin, so do you want to permanently delete? And because the folders were Reading Rush and Reading Vlog, I guess all I saw was reading, so I was like, great, cool, that's what I want to delete. And so I went to delete it. I ended up deleting the entire Reading Vlog folder instead of just the Reading Rush folder, and so I deleted my Simon-verse vlog before I could edit it or anything. I was literally going to edit it the next day after doing that, and I couldn't, so I'm really upset about it. I was really excited to share that vlog with you guys, but I couldn't. But that is why I picked up this book. There was no other real reason why I wanted to read this besides for that reading vlog. I mean, I always want to read Simon, so like there's that, but I'm just kind of upset now that I can't show you guys that vlog, so rest in peace. It was gonna be beautiful, now it's just gone. It was gonna have a really cute thumbnail too, and I was telling my family about it and they're like, why don't you just refilm it? And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand, it's a reading vlog. There are reactions to, like, I can't recreate a reading vlog. I'm so mad. So I read this, but I don't even know how, like, I don't know how many times I read this book, maybe 5. I have no idea, but I reread this book. I absolutely adored it. I literally annotated it, I think for a 3rd time. I just love the story so much, and it never gets old. It never ceases to be amazing, and so I'm really happy that I reread it. I'm just really sad that I can't show you guys the reading vlog where I reread it. It was gonna be great, guys. I'm so sorry. The next book I read, I actually listened to on audiobook, and it's Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the 3rd book in the Diviners series. So the Diviners series is really hard for me to explain. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's set in 1920s New York, and it kind of deals a lot with creepy crawlies and like ghosts. In this world, there are diviners, which are people who have special abilities, and we basically follow a group of diviners going through trying to figure out all of these little ghostly things and otherworldly things. That was a really bad description, but it's a really fun series. If you guys are going to go and read this series, I do recommend the audiobooks, but I think it would also be really fun to physically read the book while listening to the audiobook. I just think that if you're gonna digest this series, I definitely recommend at some point listening to the audiobooks because they are done so well. I can't remember who narrates them, but the narrator just does such a beautiful job at capturing all the voices of the characters, capturing all the creepiness, and just the way that she kind of speaks and sings at some of the parts. It's just so beautiful. If you guys have been like following along on my wrap-ups, I read Lara Dreams, I think it was last month, but it might have been the month before, and I didn't really like it. I mean, I'm not that invested in this series. I'm listening to the entire thing, having like a decent time while listening, but I'm not like overly invested. I don't think it's like a favorite series by any means. So I enjoyed the Diviners. Lara Dreams I liked a little bit less. Don't even know why. I was just a little bit less invested in it. Before the Devil Breaks You, I think I liked it a bit more than Lara Dreams. Maybe. I think it's pretty much on par with the other ones though. Like the more I think about it, the more that I think that they're all pretty equal in my eyes, with Lara Dreams maybe being like a smidge lower. They're just like really fun, enjoyable books, but for some reason I just can't connect to them as deeply as some other people are able to. A lot of stuff happened at the end of this book, which I feel like was really intriguing, and I really want to know what happens in King of Crows, but Overdrive does not have King of Crows. I recommended it. Don't know if or when they're ever gonna get it, but I do really want to finish this series before all the details start to go away. But yeah, I mean, it is enjoyable enough, and like I said, I do want to continue on with the series and read that final book. It was okay, it's enjoyable. I do think that it is worth a read or a listen because it is just like a fun series. The next book I read was also an audiobook, and it was Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So this is a book written in verse. It's like a YA contemporary, and it's basically following these 2 girls. I found whenever I listen to audiobooks, I have a harder time remembering the characters' names because I'm not seeing it in front of me all the time, so I can't remember the main characters' names. But it follows 2 different girls, one who lives in the Dominican Republic, one who lives in America. I believe she lives in New York, and they both have the same dad, but they don't know that they do. The dad splits his year, I believe, by spending half of it with one daughter in America and the other half with the other daughter in Dominican Republic, and neither of them know about each other. They find each other when their dad dies in a plane crash, and they both find out about each other, and they end up spending some time together and meeting and kind of forming a bond in the wake of their dad's death. And I saw that Overdrive had the audiobook, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna listen to it. Peyton really loved it, but I think what the problem is with me and her books written in verse is her writing is so beautiful. I do really love her writing. No matter how beautiful her writing is, which it's stunning, I just, for some reason, I can't connect with verse. I've never really been a poetry person, and verse is poetry. So I think that because it's told in poetry, told in verse, it's just not something that I can connect to. Like, I need more details, I need more description, I need more everything. And honestly, I really did like the story, and I think that if it was written in prose, I might have enjoyed it a bit more, just because I do really enjoy stories of, like, hardships, and I do really like hard-hitting contemporaries where somebody's dying and whatever. Like, I do enjoy reading about those things. I don't know, I feel like if it was written in prose, I might have enjoyed it a bit more, which makes me kind of curious to read her other book, With the Fire on High, because that one is written in prose, because I do like her writing so much. I'm wondering if I should try that one out to see if I'd like it a bit more. I don't really know, but like, objectively, this book is so well written, and it is good, and I do see why everybody loves it. I do understand why people love it. You should read this book if you think it's something that will interest you. Just personally, unfortunately, I just don't like reading in verse, no matter how much I keep trying to. Then the next two books I'm just going to talk about together. Leah on the Offbeat and Love Creekwood, both by Becky Albertalli. So of course these were the other two books that I was going to be reading for the Simonverse vlog. This one is mainly following Leah during her senior year at Creekwood High School, and it's basically just her kind of dealing with life, I guess, dealing with a crush on one of her friends. And I didn't really enjoy this book the first time that I read it, so I was kind of wondering if through a reread I might enjoy it more. I didn't really. But I do think that since my first read of this book, I've developed a sort of hatred for it for really no reason, because I don't hate this book. Upon rereading it, I realized that I don't hate it, and I realized that it's not as bad as I was trying to make it out to seem in my head for some reason. So upon rereading, I do have a sort of a new appreciation for it, but it definitely is quite disappointing in comparison to the first book, Simon. It's just not as compelling. I don't like the relationship as much. I have a very complicated relationship with Leah. I like her sometimes and I definitely relate to her, but then there's also moments where I'm like, you're just so annoying and what the hell are you saying? Why are you reacting this way? So didn't really enjoy this as much as I probably could have, or as much as I hoped that I did, but I kind of expected that going into it. But Love Creekwood, however, I loved this so much. I was kind of nervous because it deals with Simon and Blue, and then it also deals with Leah and Abby. I will say that it does have a primary focus on Simon and Blue. They are the main focus of this novella, and Leah and Abby are just kind of there sometimes, pretty much just like interacting with Simon and Blue. This isn't necessary by any means, like you don't need this novella. But do we rarely ever need novellas? Probably not. They're just kind of fun extras to the series, and if you are a diehard fan of Simonverses, you probably will enjoy this. I just thought it was really fun. I have a lot of little tabbies in here, but I did really enjoy this book. I think it was just so well done. I just really enjoyed seeing more content from Simon and Blue and seeing their relationship post high school. I just really appreciated this book. Okay, and I'm really gonna go through the next two really quickly because you don't need to hear about them. So the first one is Who We Are, One Direction, autobiography. I did a whole reading vlog where I talked about this book, read this book for the anniversary of One Direction, for their 10th anniversary. You guys can go check that out in the cards if you want to see it. I'd really love if you did check it out because I worked really hard on that video and I think it's a lot of fun. I love One Direction. They're my favorite band, and I don't know. I was feeling really emo about their anniversary and I couldn't stop thinking about them, and so I really wanted to reread their most recent book and just kind of reminisce about them a little bit, and so that's why I did the reading vlog. That's why I read this book, and it was a lot of fun. Like I really enjoyed it, and it just kind of made me miss One Direction so much more, and I still miss them so dearly. Also for that reading vlog that I ended up cutting out of the vlog because the vlog was getting quite long, and I already knew that it was very unlikely that anybody would be watching that video, that I didn't want to make it too long. So I read Fame, One Direction. It's kind of like a comic biography of the band, but it's a really bad comic. Okay, so now we're getting into my reading rush books. I'll link above all my Reading Rush daily vlogs. I have a whole playlist for the Reading Rush for this year. I'll link that up above so you guys could check out those vlogs. I worked really hard on them, so I really love that you were to check them out. But the first book I read was A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Caballero. This is a kind of like gender swapped, I suppose, Sherlock retelling. It's like about their great grandchildren or something. So there's Charlotte Holmes and then there's Jamie Watson, and Jamie is the character that we mainly follow in this book, and it's kind of about him coming to this new boarding school where Charlotte Holmes also attends, and kind of them forming like a friendship, I guess, a partnership to try to solve a mystery on campus of kids who start to die. It's kind of interesting. It wasn't my favorite. I picked this up because Blonde with the Book, Rocky, talks about it all the time, and so I really wanted to read it. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like the best thing in the world. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the series, honestly. This book was just average. It was just average. I was really hoping to love it, but it was just average. The mystery in this just felt very lackluster, and I feel like if you're making a mystery series, you're doing like a Sherlock Holmes type of retelling book, that maybe the mystery should be a bit better. It just, I don't know, it felt really boring. Wasn't that invested in it. I was kind of invested in the characters. I did like the characters. I just didn't really care about the mystery. And then probably one of my favorite books of the month, I read The Song Will Save Your Life by Layla Sales. This is a YA contemporary following a girl named Elise, and she kind of feels a little lost in life, I suppose. She's not very popular at school. She gets made fun of and bullied a lot. She kind of doesn't really have a place where she fits in or any friends or anything. Then she stumbles upon this underground dance club and she ends up becoming this sort of like DJ sensation, and she kind of really finds her place in the world at school and at this dance club and kind of just finds a whole new purpose in life, I guess. And it's a really enjoyable book, although there are some trigger warnings for self-harm and suicide attempts, and then there's also a little bit of a trigger warning for eating disorders, specifically for like bulimia, because that is mentioned at one point. That could be kind of triggering for some people, but definitely mainly self-harm and suicide attempt. The self-harm is kind of talked about in a bit of detail. If you guys are looking to pick this book up but know that those will be triggering for you, but you still want to read the book, then let me know down below in the comments and I can let you know when that kind of pops up so you can prepare yourself for it or just skip over it entirely. But just know that if that is something that's going to seriously bother you hearing about self-harm, it is kind of mentioned throughout the entire book. So that is just kind of something to keep in mind. There's also a relationship between a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. If that's also something that you don't like reading about, then I also don't recommend reading this one because it is kind of like prevalent part in the story. It's not like a real relationship, it's kind of like hookup now and then. This one was really good. I did really enjoy it. I liked the characters, I liked the story. I did connect to quite a few parts of it, and if I ever reread it, which I kind of do plan on doing, I do want to tab it up a bit because I wasn't really in the mood to tab books when I was reading it. So really did enjoy this one, and I do recommend it if you guys can handle that content matter. And then I picked up 2 audiobooks. The first one is The Silver Mask by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. This is the 4th book in the Magisterium series. This is basically a series where we follow this boy named Cal. He has to take this test, this iron trial, to get into this Magisterium magic school, but he doesn't want to get in. His dad, his entire life, has said how bad the school is. The school is to blame for your mom's death, and so he doesn't want to go to the school. So he needs to try to fail at the test so that he doesn't get into the school, but he ends up failing and getting into the school. The rest of the series kind of definitely progresses way past that original synopsis, but it's a really intriguing and interesting series. It kind of flips the story on its head of what you are expecting from it. So it is a boy goes to a magic school story, but there's so much more to it. So many more things, like with the villains, I guess, of the story. It's very interesting and complex with the way that the authors decided to take it. And I do really enjoy this series. It's just kind of like a fun, not lighthearted, but just kind of like a fun series. Just kind of get yourself lost in. I do really enjoy the audiobooks as well. If that's a route that you want to go down, I do recommend the audiobook. The other audiobook that I listened to was The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. This was kind of like an impromptu audiobook decision that I decided to do just to complete one of the challenges for the reading rush. And this wasn't anything amazing. I do definitely prefer the movie. It's basically about Mia, who finds out she's the princess of Genovia and has to go through princess training and whatever. I'm sure you guys know what the Princess Diaries is about. But the actual plot of the story is just, I feel like in my personal opinion, it's just so much better executed in the movie. In general, I just really like the movie a lot better, but like I said, you guys can go check out my vlogs if you want to see my like actual opinions as I'm reading these books. The next book I read was actually a reread, and it was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is a high fantasy book, and we follow our main character Feyre, who has to hunt to feed her family because they are not very well off, and one day she sees a wolf in the woods that she believes to be Fae, and she decides to take her chance. She's angry, and so she kills the wolf. And then she later finds out that yes, he is a Fae, and a high Fae comes to her door and says, like, you've broken the rules, and so we have to, as part of the treaty, either kill you or take you over to the Fae land where you will live with us. And so she decides to go over to the Fae land, and she ends up living, not really as a prisoner, but she kind of like lives with this high Fae who has taken her. I read this book for the first time at the very beginning of my channel in 2015. I really enjoyed it back then. I still really enjoyed it this time, but I have to say that I wasn't as invested in this particular book as much, probably because it mainly focused on Tamlin, and I don't like Tamlin because I know how at least the second book goes, and so I wasn't that invested because I was like, I don't like Tamlin. But whenever Rhysand showed up, story changed a little bit. I really love Rhysand, and so I did enjoy my time rereading this book at least a lot more than I did rereading Throne of Glass, which is good. So I did really enjoy this book, and I'm excited to finally continue and finish the series because I've only read the first 2 books. Very excited to continue and finish it, and I'm really happy that I reread it because now I know that I do still love it, which is really nice. The next book that I read was another audiobook. I listened to a lot of audiobooks this month, but it was Warcross by Marie Lu. I had no intentions on reading this book this month, month, but I've had a hold on this audiobook for forever, and it finally came through on my Overdrive app, and I figured, you know, while I have it, I might as well listen to it. So it deals with like virtual reality games. We follow our main character Mika, and she is kind of like this hacker, bounty hunter kind of person, and then one day it's like the opening ceremony or something for the Warcross games, and she accidentally hacks herself into the game. She goes in with the intention of just stealing something to sell, but she ends up actually getting into the game and everyone can see her and whatnot. She ends up gaining the interest of the creator of Warcross, Hideo, and he flies her out to Tokyo and gives her a job offer. He needs her to, 1, participate in the actual Warcross games, and 2, he needs her to try to find this person who's trying to hack into the game or trying to like take down the game or something. I never really wanted to read this book all that much. I really love Marie Lu's Legend series, and when this book came out I wasn't that interested because it sounded very similar to Ready Player One, which is something that I was never interested in, and I'm also just not a video game person, so it's just not something that I really would think that I'd want to read about. But I bought this book because I found a signed copy at Powell's one year, and I was like, oh my god, yes, I really want it, so I bought it, and I just haven't picked it up or really felt a need to pick it up at all in the last couple of years, but I actually really enjoyed it. I was really invested in these characters. I really liked the world as well, and I really liked the story of it. I primarily really liked the characters. I really liked Amika. She's got rainbow hair. It's so cool. I was also really intrigued by Hideo, and I really liked their relationship with each other throughout the book as well. And this book was just like really fun and really interesting as well. I was like completely hooked the entire time. I listened to it really quickly, mainly because I started to listen to it at the very tail end of my borrowing for the book. It was expiring really soon, so I had to like listen to it intensely for like an entire day, doing anything that I had a spare moment where I could listen to it, I was, and then I was like doing my bullet journal spreads, so I was listening to it then too. But I really enjoyed this book, and I'm really happy that I read it. Unfortunately, Overdrive does not have Wildcard, and my Indigo doesn't even have a hardcover of Wildcard to buy online, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to read the next book in the series, but I did really enjoy it, and I do recommend others read it as well. It was just so interesting, and I'm really like pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed it, so definitely recommend it. There was also a plot twist at the end that I was like not really expecting, but also like kind of a little bit expecting. I don't know, man, it was really good. And the last book that I read, I also really don't want to talk about that much, but it was King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. So this one I picked up in June. Audiobook expired, and so I was left to finish on the physical copy, which is not my preferred way to read these books. It took me a while to get through it because I wanted to read a bunch of different things, and I just didn't want to sit here and read the last big chunk that I had. But I finally, at the very end of the month, was like, I don't want to carry this into August, I need to just finish it. And it is an interesting series. I'm not like that invested in it, which is why I'm listening to the audiobooks instead of physically reading, but I did finish like, I don't even know how much of this book physically, so it was interesting. I didn't really like this book though. I think I might have liked it a bit more than Glass Sword, but I think still my favorite is Red Queen. I don't know why. I'm glad that I finally managed to finish this book so that I can move on to other things. So those were all the books that I read in the month of July. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below what you guys read in the month of July, and if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Subscribe if you've not yet already, and I will see you guys next time.